wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Rodell, and this is the one and only Wrestle Talk Podcast coming to you live tonight. We got a great guest, the one and only, the legendary SImmons is going to join us later on, and we got a lot of the wrestling news and notes to talk about. So it's going to be a great night here at the Wrestle Talk Podcast. But I don't do this alone. We don't do this alone. I have a co-host. He's up there in the Seattle area. And I know hopefully maybe he's found a good pizza here in the last few weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Justin Wade.
You think I found a good pizza in this neck of the woods? And unless I have a frozen emo shipped up here, and I know they do, but guess what? They have that. It's called like Gold Belly or something. They do like all over the United States. They deliver foods, and they do deliver emos, but it does not taste the same. It's kind of like getting frozen White Castles. They don't taste the same. And this is not our final stop, me and my wife. So this is just a detour until we find our forever home in the great United States. We got a lot of wrestling to talk about though tonight. We got some major shows coming up in the next couple of weeks, and it's kind of worrying me. It's kind of worrying me because of the content that's going to be out there, but I'm sure we'll talk it. We'll talk about it.
Right, and I know you're probably looking forward to talking to our guest that's going to be here in the 8 o'clock hour, the one and only, the legendary Mr. SImmons. We're going to be talking a little bit about SICW, and we're also going to be talking about the California Alley Club.
The Cauliflower Alley Club, you mean?
Cauliflower Alley Club, yes. The CAC, yes. Their big convention is coming up next weekend, I believe. So we've also got NWA 75 this weekend. We got All In, All Out, Payback, whole lot of stuff to talk about. So I hope you're ready and strapped in. You're looking fly tonight there, sir.
I just got off work. I got to wear a nice shirt because occasionally they want me up here in front of a judge, not because of my past tribulations, but because of my role as an investigator in the great state of Washington. So
it looks like the weather's pretty nice up there, though.
It's beautiful. It's about 71 degrees right now. So
well, let me tell you what you're missing here. You're missing high 90s with a heat index of about 115. So.
Hey, no, thank you. I'll take what I got right here. So
we've all got what we like to call around here swamp ass. So
yeah, swamp ass alert.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better. We're supposed to be like this all the way up until maybe Saturday or Sunday. So this is that. You've been in St. Louis before, so I mean you
all know my life.
You have that heat wave that we always have that one time per year, and it's dreadful. And to top everything off, I go to my car today after work because I was working from home today, and I needed to run to the store. My air conditioner wasn't working.
Oh no, brother! And
I think I really think it has something to do with the serpentine belt. So,
how you doing right now? Are you okay right now?
Oh, I'm okay. It's my car air conditioner that's not working. My house air conditioner. Yeah, no, my house air conditioner is working perfectly fine. I'm fine. So, but I gotta use a work from home day tomorrow to run my car to the shop and see about the serpentine belt. So
I've been driving a car for almost 22 years, and only in the last those first 19, I did not have air conditioning in any car I drove. It's these last 3 that I've been lucky enough to have air conditioning in vehicles. Sometimes I forget I have it and I just drive. So
We've already got Sonny in the house. He's already making some noise tonight. He's apparently last week he challenged me to some kind of a match. We're gonna have to talk about this. He's not a big fan of Quick Trip Pizza. Let's just say that he does not like the Quick Trip Pizza.
Well, Michael Rappaport. I mean, Sonny is not from New York, so they like that type of pizza. A Quick Trip's okay. Casey's is good. The gas station pizzas, 7-Eleven sucks. So
I don't think I've ever had that. So
yeah, it comes with the side of being stuck in a bathroom. Robbed. Yeah.
But before we get any further, we're going to go ahead and get our sponsors up here. I'm going to go ahead and read off our sponsors here. I'd like to thank our great sponsors, Royal Mills Transportation, Dewan Mills, Rathbun Engraving. You can get the beautiful Wrestle Talk Podcast mug for $20. Nobleman's Barbershop, KC, Missouri. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall. The I-70 Sports Media with the Maestro Jeremy Karp. Little Popeye Designs, the Wrestle Talk Podcast Tumblr, and the world's premier fantasy wrestling organization, the FWWC. Well, Justin, we got a lot to do tonight, but first, obviously, we have to pay honor to our country. And so if you're wearing any kind of hat wear, we ask that you please remove it as we pay homage to the greatest country in the world. I'm talking about America, damn it. Oh, that gets rougher and rougher. Are you smoking? What kind of a cigar are you smoking there? I see you're smoking a little bit of a good stogie there.
Yeah, this is a Padron 7000. In the great state of Missouri, on the hill in St. Louis, you could buy these for a nice, probably $8 to $10. In the God blessed state of Seattle, or city of Seattle, these cost about $14 a pop plus tax. So.
Why do they cost? Is there a reason why they cost so much? Is it a tax or?
There's a tax, and they don't want people smoking. So there's no cigar lounge either. My wife's like, "We're moving to Seattle. We're moving to Washington." I'm like, "Oh, that's gonna be awesome." You can't smoke within 25 feet of any establishment here in the whole state of Seattle. So there's no smoking lounges. The only smoking lounge I have is in my vehicle right here, and yeah.
It looks like you got beautiful weather though behind you though.
Beautiful weather.
Yeah, I mean, I can't fault that. We got Jared in the house already. He's telling me that I suck. So, and Sonny Money Mayo said he still wants to challenge me. I'm gonna have to get my lawyer involved in this with the negotiation. That say I can't ever mention it, and then if I win, he would have to eat a whole QT pizza on the Wrestle Talk podcast. I don't think he could get through it, but whatever. I mean, do they have Casey's out there in the Kansas City area?
Well, it was all over Iowa when we went. So
I know it was like every exit had a Casey's on it. I think honestly.
Well, if Luke, Mr. Skywalker was saying that the home district
home office.
Home office was an hour away from where we were in Waterloo. So,
Sonny Money says Casey's is taking over K. Well, he said KX, but then he corrected. He did correct it to KC. Jared posted that you got legit sunglasses. He loves.
Yeah. I don't. Hey, I'm a little bougie. I have Bush beer money, but I have caviar tastes. I have. I don't go cheap when I have to buy my sunglasses or eyeglasses since I have to wear them 24/7. And I got myself a nice pair of Ray-Bans on. So I'm a little legit here. In the back of my back seat here, I got my Coach men's business backpack, so I'm a little bougie. I'm cheap as hell, but I'm bougie.
Well, Justin, are you ready to talk about some wrestling, about some professional wrestling around the country?
I can talk all day about wrestling. I'm ready to talk about it tonight. Let's get started.
All right, let's get started. Let's send it to DJ Money as he introduces our high spot segment.
Mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like lamb chops. We dog shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a runner's pieces of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. Like a spark flash, look like a barely fly. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now they know we about to start the show.
All right, Justin, we're gonna go ahead and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We have a lot of all in stuff to talk about, but we got other stuff to talk about. But we like to hit up that randomizer, so I'm gonna go ahead. All right, let's do it. It stopped on me and I wasn't ready. There we go. This is what came up first. I have a little wheel that I randomize things in. So we're gonna jump right into All In. CM Punk versus Samoa Joe for the quote unquote real world championship. And the question is Tony Khan making a mistake with the storyline? Calling him the quote unquote real world champion.
You know what? They're trying to make Collision its own brand, I believe. It doesn't help, though, that they keep having people from other shows pop on each show. I don't think it's a bad storyline because this is what I believe is the real main event for All In. I just don't see MJF headlining with Adam Cole. I'm sorry. It's just CM Punk and Samoa Joe are going to tear the house down. We loved this match 20 years ago when they had their trilogy, but you know what? I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to see it. I'm ready to see this match, and I hope we hear a resounding chorus of Joe's gonna kill you, and I really do hope Joe kills Punk.
If I remember reading right, I wasn't following Ring of Honor at that time, but didn't one of the Joe and Punk matches go like 75 minutes or something? It went like over the 60-minute time limit. They kept adding more time to it, and apparently it's one of the best matches in Ring of Honor history.
Yes, it is, and it's unfortunate. I can't find you can find one of the matches on YouTube, but if you want to watch the trilogy, you got to have that Ring of Honor app. Mm-hmm. And it seems like you got to have an app for everything nowadays. But no, I really Tony Khan is making a mistake. It makes no sense. They're unfortunately forcing down our throat. Yeah, they're forcing them down our throat, but we are talking about him. He's causing problems in the back because it sounds like he's running the show in the back with Tony Khan. But I just think it's a compelling story. People are paying to hate him. So
he's not. I wouldn't say he's running the show. He's running Collision, and apparently he has a lot of influence on AEW Collision. And you can kind of tell the difference between the two shows. You can tell Dynamite has a different feel than Collision, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's refreshing. I mean,
I watch more Collision than Dynamite because I'm off on Saturdays and there's not a lot of time. I have it. I'm flipping through the channels. We got dinner, and the wife even watches it with me. She's seen more FTR than she ever has in her life. And let me tell you, FTR. I know there's some behind the scenes problems, if you know what I'm talking about, with Mr. Cash Wheeler. His legal problems right now. But I'm hoping that everything's fine, and he's at the pay-per-view this weekend to defend the titles.
Yeah, I mean, I have not heard anything personally. We'll that is one of the topics we have on our randomizer for a little bit later. But if we get to it, who knows what we get to. And fans, if you have something that you want, if you want to post a comment, we'll share them for you. Aaron said to replace Tony Khan with Vince Russo. I don't think that's necessarily the answer, but
someone's smoking crack.
Jared says, but don't get me wrong, I like CM Punk, but I'm just tired of seeing him. They should have put Punk on Ring of Honor. Punk's getting paid too much money to be on Ring of Honor. That's that's my opinion on the whole situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Punk. Yeah, just if he just think of how his career would look if he didn't have this much drama in his life. He might be one of the best wrestlers to ever live. In my opinion, he's like a modern day Bret Hart. He believes his own hype. Bret Hart's one of the greatest to ever live, but Bret Hart also thinks in his mind he's the greatest to ever do it. And I believe Punk's in the same boat, and he rubs people the wrong way like Bret Hart did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, after a couple of incidents with backstage and him telling people that that he didn't want them to be a Collision, like talking about Matt Hardy and a couple of others not wanting to be. So I hope they know what they're doing. That's all I hope. I mean, maybe Punk will win the Ring of Honor eventually win the Ring of Honor world title. I mean, I think that would be kind of a step down for him, but
I really wish they would give Claudio his due. He did a fantastic promo a week ago on Ring of Honor saying, if you want this belt, come and get it. But I just don't think they're pushing him compared to the other champions. I don't think he's getting the same respect as MJF and Punk. And, I like it that Punk is, he's the undisputed champion and, on Collision, they're kind of separating things, unless they're going to unify the belts. I do, I like this, this view that Tony Khan's taking with Collision and Dynamite being separate entities.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, you can feel that the shows are different. Dynamite's kind of more of a TV I mean, there's a lot more wrestling on Collision, I think.
Oh, by far. FTR had a phenomenal match with Jay White and Juice Robinson a couple weeks ago. They won the full hour, the first hour.
Oh, are you talking about that 2 hour 3 falls match?
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic.
I still haven't had a chance to check that out, but
you got it, man. It's worth it. It's worth it.
All right, Justin, we're gonna go ahead and rewind up that randomizer and let's see if it doesn't stop on me. It did stop, and it didn't. There we go.
There we go.
We're going to talk about the main event, which is the supposed main event of the Axe the Eliminator match, because I pulled up the wrong. I pulled it up from this graphic from Dynamite, but
we understand.
You understand what I was. I'm so embarrassed, but
no, it's fine, brother. Here's the thing. I'm going to start off, if you don't mind, because it seems like I'm just talking a lot. I'm shot out of a cannon because it's been a couple weeks since I've been on here.
I know.
I like, I got to get my rest. This, you can only put so much lipstick on a pig. Anyways, Adam Cole, MJF. If this was an NXT main event, yeah, by all means, but not for All In. This is the biggest pay-per-view in the history of AEW. And what the hell are they having them wrestle for the Ring of Honor tag team titles on the pre-show? You don't do that with the main event. I don't know what they're trying to pull. Now, this is where I think Tony Khan is sipping some Hail Bop Comet Kool-Aid, if you know what I'm talking about. You remember that back in the day when those? Yeah. Anyways, that's an old school reference. Go back to 1995 or 97. Watch the Today Show.
There might be some people that aren't old enough to know about that. So
no, I don't know where I pulled that out of. Anyways, it just boggles my mind. They're having the main event, the fight for the tag team title straps in the pre-show.
Yeah, against Aussie Open. Against Aussie Open. I mean, people. I've seen it online. People have been thinking is like, what happens if like someone like twists a knee or gets injured in the pre-show. I mean,
I don't see what maybe somehow that's where they do the swerve and they have the real face and heel face off on one another Yeah, like Jared's saying, there's no hype. There hasn't been any hype, and I'm getting tired of this buddy buddy thing because we all know MJF is one of the most dastardly heels to ever grace the squared circle in the last 10 years. He. It's just what he say. One of his quotes was, the biggest thing you did was trust the devil or something like that.
Yeah, that's a quote. That's a quote from CM Punk too. That was a quote during the CM Punk build up. I like the skits together because they are hilarious because they're two completely different people. But
I don't see no competitiveness for this, and this is the world title, the biggest title in wrestling, and it's just being I don't know. I'm not all in.
You're not all in on this main event. I think it's going to be a good match. I mean, I think it's not. I don't think it's going to necessarily like steal the show or anything.
No, it's not. It's going to be a fantastic bout, but it's just in my head. I'm not big on this whole card. I'm marking out because of Sting. I'm the biggest Sting fan that's ever in my head ever lived.
That's right. They're going to do that coffin. They're going to do that coffin match with Darby against
Strickland and
AR Fox.
Yeah, and I'm like I said, I'm a mark for Sting, but there's too many cluster matches on this big pay-per-view. I'm not digging it. There's only a few single bouts on there. It's just I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about this pay-per-view. It's exciting that they're going to have a big capacity crowd, but I don't think I think they waited I don't know. I don't know if they had this all planned out. And then next week, the week after that, aren't they doing another one in Chicago?
All out in Chicago.
Yeah,
and
the day before.
And we're gonna talk about. We might talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, it's like they've kind of painted themselves into a corner having two pay-per-views in 2 weeks. I mean,
yeah, it's like when Survivor. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, man. I don't
no, you can't tell me they couldn't have pushed All Out back 4 weeks. I mean, they're in control of their own schedule, so I mean,
and it's kind of, and I have a feeling they're going to be announcing matches during All In for All Out as the pay-per-view's going. It's kind of like when in 1991 when it was the WWF Survivor Series and the whole pay-per-view, they're talking about Tuesday in Texas, which was that following Tuesday. And Hogan lost the strap to Taker at 91 Survivor Series. And then he reclaimed it at Tuesday in Texas. They just kept promoting Tuesday in Texas, the whole Survivor Series. And, you don't have time. You got to, we got to have some air after this is their main WrestleMania. Am I right?
I would say so. All Out is usually what they call their WrestleMania, but I mean, you would think that with them going to London, they would pardon the cliche, they would go all in on. They would put the 8-10 biggest matches that they have on that show.
And I'm just going to say right now, it baffles my mind that they're not utilizing that the Hardy Boys or the Hardy Brothers are back together, because Jeff has had his tribulations, and that now that they're both healthy and stuff, I really wish they would keep them in the tag team scene. They are one of the probably in my opinion one of the top 10 in the top 10 tag teams of all time.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I saw about the things changing about All In. I've read some things that Tony Khan they did his media call today that he does before all of his big pay-per-views, and they basically said that expect to see some changes to the card due to circumstances that are real world and are unavoidable. So one of them is Ray Phoenix. He couldn't get let in to the United Kingdom. So. Okay, I don't run a multi-million-dollar company or anything, but don't you think you could have had that stuff all settled away prior to this?
I don't get it. It's crazy. Tony Khan, and here's the thing: when I found out, what I've been reading about Tony Khan, they could have the worst ratings in history, but because of all the money that family has, that show will be on TBS as long as he wants it on there. You know, as long as they're shelling out the money for TBS, they'll keep it on. You know,
and I think and Warner Brothers Discovery, I don't think they ever expected AEW to beat WWE in viewership and ratings and stuff like that. But if they get decent rating, I mean, they're drawing 800,000 people on a Wednesday night to TBS, where TBS is known to show Young Sheldon repeats, and
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory.
10 hours a day. The only time I watch is for AEW and American Dad. I love that show. American Dad. Oh my God. Here's the funny thing. I love my life. Okay. Mr. Big Sexy, you know that I'm a fairly happy guy. I like to joke around a lot. When I rant, it's always humor behind it. I'm actually a very happy man. I have a wonderful life. I'm happy with my job. I love my wife to the bitter end. And here's the thing about me and her. We are complete opposites. If you look at our TV history, it's her watching MSNBC and Dateline. And on my end, it's American Dad, wrestling, Seinfeld, Sopranos. So it's like two different ends of the spectrum. So yeah, when it comes to television,
I'm gonna throw out a controversial take here. I am not a fan of Seinfeld.
Well, you know what? We had this talk back in Iowa.
We did talk about this in Iowa.
I kind of let it go because I respect everyone's likes and dislikes, but I cannot. You brought that back up, and I'm going to have to talk to the Night Owl about rearranging our schedule so I don't have to be on the same show as someone that hates Seinfeld as much as you do. It's the best show to ever grace television. It makes me happy. And because you do not like my happiness, we have a problem. I'm kidding, brother. I'm
good with you watching. I love people watching. I also have I can't say I don't like the Big Bang Theory, but I don't think I've ever watched it. And you have to kind of watch a few up to actually understand the stuff that they're talking about. And I don't. So
well, it just bothers me that if I was in the room with those guys from the Big Bang Theory, because they're all doctors, they would look at me and they'd want to run tests on me because of how close I am to the gorilla. So, my arms. You know what? If my arms were a couple inches longer, you'd be like, "Is that a hairless gorilla walking around?"
You're gonna be dragging them on the ground. You're gonna be dragging your arms on the ground as you're walking.
I'm a knuckle dragging mother. No, I'm kidding. What's our next topic here?
Let's stick with the all-in theme and one of your
we're off the rails here.
Yeah, your multi-man matches, Stadium Stampede, and yes, it has Ray Phoenix in there. The question I posed was, who do you hope fills the final three spots for Team Blackpool Combat Club? However, I don't know if you're actually going to need three. You might only need two now if they're just going to go 5-on-5.
You know what? Maybe this is where the Hardys get a spot, because right now those two would be perfect for the Stampede match. Also too, I heard rumblings. I don't know. It's not going to be Pac, because he just during the Blood and Guts match, he pretty much walked out on the Blackpool Combat Club because of him and Cesaro having their differences. I really don't know, who's really left on the roster that doesn't have, spots. Is Wardlow working? Does he have a match? I think he was out.
I don't think so. I've heard a rumor that two of the people were going to be Santana and Ortiz.
Oh yeah,
Pride and Powerful. But I don't know who the third. Some people were suggesting that, hey, throw that spot to someone that's from the UK, Nigel McGuinness. Give him maybe a send off.
Well, there's rumors that he's coming back. That he might get back.
Is there rumor?
Oh my God! If he was to come back, I would to see him. Maybe, you know what? How long did they say Bryan Danielson was going to be out for when he fractured his forearm?
Several months. I don't know.
Several months. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many people that I get. You think there's going to be some surprise competitors from outside the company?
I don't know. I think the most you would get, you could probably get some British people with like maybe like people that wrestle over there, like Trent Seven and stuff like that. Jared brings up a good point. We're not quite sure. We're not quite sure Jeff Hardy can leave the country because of. I know he can't go.
But it is.
I know he can't go to. I know he can't go to Canada because Canada has really strict rules on DUI. Like they had to like petition special for like Jimmy or Jay, who I don't remember which Uso had the DUI, but
I remember that.
Yeah, he had that, but he had to like complete like some kind of class or something, and had to get special approval to enter the country. So I don't know if Jeff can actually leave. So we might not see him this weekend, but I don't really know who else you would. I don't know who fits in that. I mean,
yeah, just that is there anybody you think that Moxley would pull out of his hat to say, "Hey, I've known this guy forever." You think they'll bring in some New Japan guys? I
could see it maybe, but I don't know who really would do that. Like hardcore style. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And Jared has a point where Tony Khan is obsessed with multi-man matches.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah. It just boggles my mind. And I'm excited to see Eddie Kingston, man. I want to know how I can get my hands on, without having New Japan's app, how I can get my hands on the 15-day G1 Climax. Eddie Kingston was in that for the full 15 days. He didn't win it, but he competed every day during that tournament. And I would just love to see in its entirety the G1 Climax. Like, I wish I don't know if they're going to sell it on DVD or what, but like I said, I think they'll replace Phoenix to keep it 6-man. I just don't know who they're going to throw in there to fill it out.
I'm truly at a loss. So if anyone has any suggestions, please let us know in the comments. Yeah. We'll throw them up there. I think 2 of them are going to be Santana and Ortiz because I know one of them was hurt and they kind of had a falling out, but then they seem to have reconciled.
I know Jack Hager needs to do something. I know when they split the Jericho Appreciation Society, those guys need something to do. I really am frustrated that they should have probably kept that group together because it gives those guys something to do. I'm worried about, I can't remember their names. The tag team that was linked with Appreciation Society and Guevara.
2.0 or
I know.
Menard, and then the other guy, I can't think of his name, but you know him when you see him. I mean, you could probably throw in a Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia might fit with the BCC team BCC.
He's got to stop doing that dance, though.
Oh yeah.
I'm about to. It's not Chippendales, and it bugs the shit out of me when I see him do it. But guess what? He's getting heat. That's what he's wanting to do when he does that dance. He's got my heat. So
they told me I should start doing that dance when I ring announce in the ring.
Well, if you want people to lose their eyesight and go blind, yes, go ahead and do it. Big Sexy.
And I want to apologize. My voice is kind of cracking a little bit. This past Saturday, I was at a CHWA for Golf and Friends, and I did a lot of talking. I ring announced 3 weeks of TV and the full card, and did commentary for a couple of weeks of TV in the full card. So
it sounds like you're bragging more than apologizing.
Well, no, I'm just not. My voice is hurt. My Sunday, literally, my voice hurt. I was like, you ever get that where your voice just hurts and it hurts to talk?
No, because I don't like to talk too much unless I'm with friends, and I don't have no friends here in Seattle, so it's not really. I have no friend. I got this joke went nowhere. Let's just keep going.
I think I got one more. There's one more, if I can find it. Oh,
All In High.
Yeah, All In High Spot. We'll put a pretty little bow on this. This is probably what you might be looking forward to.
Oh, okay. I have my dilemma here. Okay, so this is going to be probably match of the night because Jericho. He is 51 years old, but he can still pull off match of the year matches. And I think he's going to do the honors to Mr. Ospreay here. Ospreay might be, if he keeps going the way he's going, he's going to be PWI 500 #1, in my opinion, if he keeps going the way he's going this next year. I really do wish they would do the trifecta match with him and Omega, but they're probably waiting that off for a New Japan pay-per-view. But man, this match and the Samoa Joe CM Punk match are the top two matches in my card for All In.
And allegedly, this match was promised to Will Ospreay in 2021 at Wrestle Kingdom. And,
oh wow!
And obviously, because of everything that happened with COVID and everything shutting down travel, and they couldn't have it, so that's why they're kind of having it now. But is it a clash of styles between the two wrestlers?
It is a clash, old school, new school. But Jericho is acclimated. Is that the right term? Acclimated with time. He's evolved. He's, gone from what was it, the Rainmaker? What was his character in New Japan? Rainmaker?
Painmaker.
When he left the WWE back in, I believe, was it 14, 15, and he showed up at New Japan, I could not wait for matches with Omega, with Ospreay, with Okada, and I can't. Not is it Nato?
Nato. Yeah, Nato.
He had some killers over there before he got with AEW, and this match right here, man, this is going to tear the house down. And Ospreay is one brutal SOB when it comes to throwing those reverse forearms of his. That reverse forearm to the Judas Kiss, is that right? Jericho's finisher?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the reverse elbow. Man, they're going to tear the house down. They're going to, yeah.
And he said that.
Yeah, he's right. It should main event.
Well, you guys are pushing MJF and Adam Cole down the card. What do you want them to open the show? I mean,
they already are in the pre-show.
I feel like you have a rant coming on, but yeah,
no.
I mean, I just worry that Jericho being older and apparently it was announced today that apparently Fozzy is going to play All In. Maybe they're gonna play Jericho in. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on that.
So does that mean he's gonna sing his song as he comes down the aisle?
I guess.
And I love Jericho to death, but someone posted a video of him dancing on stage, and they're like, "This is your 50-year-old soccer mom dancing at a what's his name that sang the song Wanted Dead or Alive."
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, that's your 50-year-old mom dancing at a Bon Jovi concert, seeing Jericho dance on stage. So and poor Jericho, the poor guy. His rock. He would have been a number one band in the 80s. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. Are you interested at all in the Bucks and FTR? Do you think?
Oh my God, I am. They're the tag teams of the AEW. It's going to be the battle for the best tag team in AEW right there. So, and the Bucks, they're always going to be a top. They're going to be a top elite tag team. They've been it since their inception, and been running roughshod and was a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla out in California, and Ring of Honor. They made a little stop in TNA as another tag team name, and then they wrestled a lot in Japan. So, and then you got FTR, who they're really the top three teams in my opinion in the last year until they broke up was Usos, FTR, and the Young Bucks. And yeah, right now it's tag team of the year candidate coming up for whoever wins this match.
I have to ask because it is a discussion in another group chat I'm in.
Okay.
FTR's theme music. Do you like it or do you not like it?
Oh man, whenever they come out, it makes me think they're trying to pull that old shtick
Midnight
Miami
Express
Vice feel. Well, not Miami Vice, Midnight Express. I just think they're coming out to that old school music that you would hear from a tag team in the 80s, and I like it. They got the feel of Arn and Tully when I see them wrestle. So yeah, I love their theme music. They're coming down. It's got that beat to it to where they're coming down to kick some ass. So,
And unfortunately, we can't talk about FTR if we don't talk about this. The aggravated assault with a firearm. He appeared in front of a judge, and it was apparently a road rage incident. He had to surrender all of his firearms, and
here's the thing. I'm going to go on a little rant here. Get the rant meter going, I guess. I loved FTR, but if this is all true, everybody has their day in court. We don't know all of the story. We don't know all the facts. There's going to be rumors coming out there from guys trying to make themselves $1 on the web. I really hope it's not. It's making Cash look bad if he did pull a gun on someone because they cut him off. You know how many people cut me off on the Seattle I-5 highway, and I just go, hey, all right, because guess what? Sadly, they might have a gun. I'm a big guy. I'm about 350 pounds. Back in the day, I could bench over 400 pounds. I know my accolades when it comes. I've never been in a fight, but I've never had anyone try to start shit with me, but I don't have a chip on my shoulder. But guess what? If it was me wanting to fight someone and they had a gun, guess who's always going to win? The guy with the gun. And sadly, people don't use it as the last-ditch effort. I could go on about politics in the United States, but this is not about politics in the United States. I hope Cash Wheeler, hopefully maybe he thought his life was in danger when he pulled the firearm. That's what I'm hoping. So
I think I would think that would be the only reason he would do that. And I gotta tell you, Jared has an obsession with the guns,
and it's okay.
And the guns, I hate. They're the worst. I think they're one of the worst teams in AEW. I do not like them. And Jared's gonna come up here in just a second. He's gonna be like, "You're wrong." But
guess what? We can all have our own opinions, and that's what's great about this. Before you played that god awful version of Star Spangled Banner, you said this is the greatest country in the world. It's because we can have our own likes and dislikes. You don't like Seinfeld, I cannot like you about it, but we can all respect each other. So if you don't like the Gun Society or whatever the hell they call themselves, the Billy Gunn knockoffs, that's what I call them. I like them because they're getting under people's skins and they're eking out wins here and there. So.
Yeah. And I like this. I like the saying, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one.
Yeah. That got us quiet, but
so we're gonna keep going on with the wrestling world. I got other stuff to talk about. Let's talk about last Friday on SmackDown.
We're talking about the what we got. Oh man, this was some good stuff. Edge, I remember when he debuted. I remember back his first big match. He had a couple big matches his very first year, and they were kind of undetected. He won the Intercontinental title on a house show back in '98 against Jarrett, and then dropped it quickly. Then he was in a mixed tag team match, I believe. Him and Sable took on Mark Marrow and Jacqueline at SummerSlam. And then the next month, he was thrown into a match with Owen Hart to open up the Breakdown pay-per-view. That if back in '98, if you guys remember at the Breakdown pay-per-view in '98, it was a triple threat match. Undertaker and Kane, who were a team at this point, fought Austin for the title, and they double pinned him. But no one remembers a classic bout because it was in Canada, this pay-per-view, Owen Hart against Edge, and they tore the house down. And ever since then, Edge has just been climbed up the ladder to where he's probably in the top 20 of people's wrestling, top 20 wrestlers of all time. He's had a fantastic career.
I agree. I mean, he's had a great. I mean, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, he had to step away for a little bit because of his neck, and he fought hard. He fought hard to get back. I mean, if you watch that documentary on WWE Network, you see how hard he worked. He got the idea whenever he was doing TV stunts, and was like, this doesn't hurt as bad as it used to hurt. So can I do this? And then that clip that they showed of the Sheamus that on the bike trail the week before.
Oh yeah,
that was another thing that got him going. Is like, hey, can I get cleared for this? And I've read some things where apparently WWE didn't want to clear him at all. AEW was willing to bring him in to like try to see if he could.
WWE's like, whoa, hold on, come on back.
And Edge went back to Vince and was like, hey, I have this offer on the table. They're willing to clear me. What do you? I don't want to really. I didn't sound like he really wanted to go there at that point. But I mean,
he's been dedicated to the WWE since day one, and God, I remember, like, people were just talking about, does anybody remember the SmackDown 6? And if you think about it, it was Edge, Mysterio, Angle, Benoit, Guerrero, and Chavo Guerrero. And they just kept having matches left and right against one another. And when you think about SmackDown, when they separated brands, those 6 are what kept them in the running with Raw back in the day. And Edge was a part of that. And I really think in the last year, WWE's kind of dropped the ball on Edge, as he's inched toward his final match. I don't know if this will be his final match. His contract is up. So when he said this will be the last time you see me wrestle in Toronto, that was probably just because of that contract. If he renews it for maybe 6 months, they might not be going to Toronto again during that time.
They don't go to Canada that much. So, I mean, that really could be his last match in Toronto. And that's where he said he kind of wanted to end his career, is be like, I want to end in Toronto. But then this is what I hate about wrestling fans. I mean, I love wrestling fans, and then I hate them at the same time. As soon as his contract ends, it's like everyone's talking about, is he going to show up in AEW so he can have his final feud with Christian? A Christian Edge feud in AEW isn't going to mean the same as a Christian Edge feud would have meant in the WWE.
No.
Am I wrong in that?
No, you're not. Because, so everybody's saying that, I'm going back to my favorite, Sting. His career, Tony Khan is protecting him, and that's why he's having such a fantastic end of his career in AEW, so it's working for Sting. He didn't work out in WWE. Edge and Christian did. It's different strokes for different people. And I really don't think Edge needs to step foot in AEW. I think it will tarnish his legacy. I really wish he could go out with a bang. I wouldn't mind seeing him having, John Cena's supposed to be coming back for a little bit, supposedly because of the strike in the movie industry. And if somehow they could work it out, I wouldn't mind seeing Edge's last match against John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, his contract technically, allegedly, does not end until the end of September. His contract would have ended at Mania, I think, but because of the injury, they tacked on, because apparently you can tack on months to the contract.
Oh yeah,
when you're out due to injury, so it spread it out a little bit longer. But my thing is was the match on SmackDown a letdown as a final match? If that truly is his final match in WWE, was that a letdown? He wanted to face Sheamus because they never actually wrestled against each other, which I find that I could not believe that. I mean, for them being in the WWE for as long as they both have, but they never wrestled each other. However, but is that kind of a letdown just to do it on a random Friday night in Toronto?
I do believe that, but Edge is still a big money name in my book, and they could have a big money match. They could have made that a pay-per-view match at Payback, as his last match. But I know because it's in his hometown of Toronto, he had the Maple Leaf colors on, and I just it was, I watched it. It was what it was. His last year with the WWE has been a letdown to me. That's just my belief. So
I mean, and we know the wrestling business. Just because you say it's your last match in the WWE, we know that really doesn't mean that, because
Terry Funk,
yeah,
Terry Funk, Mick Foley, he lost a retirement match at no No Way Out in 2000, and he was in the Fatal 4-Way main event of WrestleMania.
Right.
So, and he's come back and wrestled sporadically against Flair, against Randy Orton, against Edge. He's wrestled on the ECW pay-per-view in 06. Retirement is never retirement for pro wrestlers.
Yeah. We pro wrestlers are going to die in the ring eventually. It's in their blood.
Well, that's what Ric Flair said he wanted. If he could pull it off, he
kind of came close last year to doing that. But we won't talk about.
I saw that. Yeah.
But I think Edge could be a good special attraction, like how the Undertaker was for so long.
Yeah.
You bring him in for short-term program. You don't need him for every house show and every Raw and every SmackDown. You bring him in for specific events.
Yeah.
I just think that that's what you do. So let's see what else do we want to talk about? How about we talk about this? and you picked this. This was you sent this picture in, right?
Yes, I did.
And I love it because it's just the face. It's just his face. It's hilarious. Did you watch the match on Monday?
Yeah, and I saw that German he gave to Gunther on the barricade, and I thought he broke his neck because he landed on his head. If you saw it, so.
Yeah. And did you hear that when he came from the top rope and he heard that he hit that chop?
Oh yeah! Oh my God! It sounded like a shotgun went off.
Yeah. Did you cringe?
So here's the thing. I really do wish that
you're a former wrestler. When you heard that chop, did you automatically just kind of cringe?
No, because whenever I was chopped, guys loved chopping me back in the day because I have a barrel chest, and I'll sell it to an extent, but at the same time too, I love when someone would chop me back in the day, and I would do that Sting no sell. You remember how Flair would chop the hell out of Sting, and Sting would just stand in the middle of the ring,
and then
yeah, oh man, I loved it, and it got the crowd going nuts, and seeing Gunther chop someone. Yeah, I like seeing his chops, but man, you want to see some chops, you go to New Japan and watch Kenta Kobashi chop some people. So, or All Japan Pro Wrestling. But yeah, I cringed. I like seeing. I really do wish they would give Gable a push, but it's kind of hard right now. He's teamed with Otis, and I have a feeling another turn's coming. Maybe Otis might turn on Gable. I don't know.
And the count out victory kind of gives you a. Different ways to go. Where I mean, it's obvious now that the WWE is gonna let Gunther beat Honky Tonk Man's record. So
yes, he's gonna be the longest reigning IC champ of all time. That's fine with me.
I'm okay with that.
He's I think Gunther is a main event wrestler, and I really want to see Gable. Do well as well, but they got to keep pushing Gunther. He was number one in the Rumble last year and went all the way to the end with Cody. And I wouldn't mind seeing him go number one again in the Rumble and then maybe win it this year. It's time for maybe once he breaks that record, he somehow drops the belt before the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and goes on to the title. So I don't know which title because, we barely see Roman anymore. I know he's injured, but I'd like to see. I don't know if they're going to have Gable be the man. I don't know if he's, but I could see him defending that belt with honor if he was to get that belt.
But the question is who's going to have that title? I think we're inevitably going to get Cody and Roman at Mania 40 again. But we'll probably get Gunther versus. As of right now, it would be Seth Rollins. But then, I mean. I could see a whole flock of people having that belt before that. So,
yeah, because we got Rollins. I believe they've been talking about it more recently, but he's got some major.
He's been injured. There's been rumors that he's been injured for a while and he's been fighting through it, and he does need some kind of not necessarily major back surgery, but he needs some kind of a relief. So
I just hope he gets the right relief and doesn't, he's not making a mistake with pushing it as much as he is, because I don't want to see him having long-term effects into his retirement.
You don't want to see him in a chair, basically.
No, we're gonna break, talk of wrestling for a minute here. 8-time Olympia bodybuilder Ronnie Coleman was the greatest and strongest Olympia ever, and he's a multimillionaire, won all these Olympias, and he's to a wheelchair now because he's had all these back surgeries. So you don't mess with the back and neck. The back, neck, and hips and knees, you got to be careful with those, or you could be in a wheelchair the rest of your life.
So, well, Justin, we have a couple other topics, but we actually have a surprise back here because we didn't think he was actually going to be here, but he's actually backstage right now. Our friend Big Daddy P is here for the for the snippets of truth. Let's go ahead and fire up that music.
Big Daddy P.
What's up, guys?
Big Daddy P, I talked to you earlier, and you didn't think you were going to be able to be here tonight, but we're happy. We are happy to see you here. But I do want to offer a condolence to your pastor who lost his wife this past recently.
Sorry,
I offer my sincerest to you. Hopefully, your pastor is doing well. But my thoughts and prayers are with him at this point.
And the thing is, he's got it's called Faithquake Ministries. He's got an online Bible teaching he does on Monday, Tuesdays, Saturday, and Sunday. And because she died, he asked me to take over the teachings. And it's one thing to preach a sermon that is, kind of a general topic versus he was in 1 Peter chapter 4. He said they just got done and they teach verse by verse. And anytime I teach a verse by verse, like the first class, it took me, I think, 9 hours of study to prepare for. The second one was almost 20. And so I didn't know how far I was going to get tonight. And fortunately, it worked out to where I was able to get finished. But again, it's such a privilege to be able to see you guys and to witness God moving in your lives, and to see you not only acknowledge it, but to share it with other people. One of the things I talked about tonight was the word hope, which is an acronym, HOPE, helping other people every day. Big Daddy P doesn't come on here for Big Daddy P. I come here for you guys, and we pray for you guys because there are people who need prayer. There are people who need I need encouragement. I mean, I get down, and the thing is, who do I go to? I go to the one who sent me. So if I can be an example and let people know that he's faithful and that they can trust him, just maybe they'll trust him. Because again, salvation is one thing, sanctification is another. You can believe in the Lord, but then once you've acknowledged him and he begins to show you why he brought you onto this planet, and then you begin to work through him, that's when you begin to see the manifestations of God in their lives. And I know that, Nightmare Jones, he's healing and he's doing better. And I know that I believe you guys had you had a lady, I think, who has had cancer. How's she doing?
She seems to be doing a little bit better. And also, one of the wrestlers I work with in one of the promotions here in St. Louis just recently had a triple hernia surgery. Hernia. They went in. It was supposed to be a double hernia. But they found a third one when they were in there, and he has been in pain for like a week. He's like a week out, and he showed up at the show for a spot because he's the heavyweight. He was the heavyweight champion of the company that I work for, and I I don't know how he did it, but he fought as soon as he hit the curtain, like almost like adrenaline hit in. So I don't know how he felt like an hour after the adrenaline wears off, but I mean, he was in some pain. I can't even imagine.
No, I couldn't even imagine one. I mean, one is painful, man. 3, that's unbearable. That cigar looks good.
Oh, brother, it is. I've been a cigar smoker, Big Daddy, since I was 16 years old, and it started out with the Swisher Sweets. You know, I didn't know what the good cigars were, and then I turned 18 and found a cigar lounge in St. Louis. So there you go. There you go. What do you got? What do you got, Big Daddy?
Don Diego.
Oh, those are good cigars.
Smooth, not too strong. They don't smell like dung. You know what I mean?
Well, do you have a nice shop to go to, or do you where do you pick them up at?
I used to order them online because they weren't available. Okay. I used to get them at J&R, but then right around the corner from my house, a liquor store got a humidor, and I got a message to the owner saying, "Hey, if you buy Don Diego's, I'll buy them." Yeah. And so my wife blessed me today with a few. I haven't had them in a while because we've been broke, but praise God, she got paid and she blessed me, and so I'm able to enjoy.
Answer me this, Big Daddy. With your love of cigars, is there a time back in the day when you would buy a cigar over food? Like if you were wanting a good cigar? Because that's how bad I was. If I had $10 to my name back in my 20s, I would buy a cigar before I'd feed myself. And then, I'd be like, well, at least I can have a nice smoke as I'm going hungry.
When I was younger, when I was probably about 18 or 19, I would do that with weed.
Okay, all right.
Weed, not food. You know what I mean?
But
but then you get older and you mature and realize that, food's kind of important.
Oh,
At the same time, too, bills are kind of important. You can't blame God. You can't blame God if your bills aren't paid, because again, the electric company don't care about this. They want their money.
Nope. They want their money.
It's just a choice.
Are you watching NXT right now?
No, I just got done. Is Stacks on? I know they already defended it. I haven't watched yet. I'm not. I record them all. And by the way, you were talking about Chad Gable. What a match that was, man!
Yes, it was.
And that chop, dude, he was bleeding. I mean, there was blood coming. It was, dude. I don't know why. I think there's some kind of a fetish with wrestlers. First of all, just to clarify, Big Daddy P was an announcer. I've been in the ring once, but let me tell you why I can't wrestle. I am not rubbing myself all over men all the time. That's just nasty. So I can never do that. I respect you guys that do it, but that's just not for me. Give me a microphone and I'm good, But outside of that, I think we are so blessed, man, with all this good television.
You have the gift of gab, so I mean that's the announcing is perfect. Is perfect for you. So
except I always get thrown into the Lion's Den where I don't know any of the wrestlers. Like I go in a place for the first time and I don't know who anybody is. So then you got to spend 15, 20 minutes with trying to get their names and where they're from and what they like to go by. And if you don't say it right, they get pissy. And I just finally said, if I don't know who the wrestlers are, I'm not doing it. Because if you're going to do it, you got look at Samantha from WWE, man.
She is
love her. One of my favorites. It's funny how she turns German with Gunther, right? She just is able to take these messages. But what I was saying though, man, we're blessed, man, between AEW and WWE and everything that's going on. We've got so much good wrestling now.
Oh, I mean, and sorry to interrupt, Barry, but besides WWE, if you got channel, it's called Axis, AXIS. They also show new once a week for an hour New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I've been taping that. I've been watching that more than the WWE and AEW stuff. So,
yeah, I have. I've caught some of the stuff. It's a different environment. Keep in mind, but that's what makes. And it's funny because you can see certain wrestlers, like Sasha Banks, Monet,
Yeah.
who went there. Where was she? Is she still there or no?
She's still there. Yeah, she's still there.
Has she defended her title?
No, she's lost it already. She dropped it already.
Well,
yeah, she dropped it because she got injured. Well, did she got injured in a match, so they changed it. They had to change up a finish real quick because she broke her ankle and
she injured herself in training. Actually, she was training.
And you also mentioned about the Intercontinental title. I think
yes.
I think I know who the next Intercontinental after he beats this record, which he will. I think I know who's going to take his belt.
Who?
Austin Theory.
Ooh.
He's got to progress up. But even like Rhea Ripley, someone somewhere, a good point. She's at the pinnacle. She's champ. What else is left for her? That's the challenge. She was.
I'm ready to see her go against a guy. The way she body slammed Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was the reason why they did that.
Yeah.
The mixed matches, they're going to start doing that, which is, again, we live in a world, man, where women can be men can be women, they can compete, they can do. So go ahead.
We do interject. We in the Midwest scene, or actually the independent scene now. There's a lot more intergender match. It's not like, and we don't even announce them as intergender matches anymore. They're just matches. It's just it's two wrestlers fighting each other. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. It
doesn't. Yep.
Do you remember back in the day? The biggest one I can remember is from the 1990 WrestleMania 6. Macho King and Sensational Queen Sherry against Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire. They had to tag out whenever the female would come in, so it'd be female and female. Now they'd be wrestling all one another.
Sometimes Missouri flip-flops on their rules, whether they allow men and women to compete against each other. They do, they don't. They do, they don't. Right now, they're okay with not. So it's just.
But see, with pro wrestling, it's a little bit different than competitive sports. Truly, I mean, and again, I know a lot of people have opinions about it, but in the end, it doesn't make sense. I mean, that's like Mike Tyson boxing against a female boxer. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. But again, what are you going to do?
Hell, it doesn't make sense to me half the time when I see a male in the ring with Mike Tyson, the way he swings. In his age, he could still knock out half the guys that are competing in their younger.
Correct.
Yeah. So Perry, we always have you on here for a snippet of truth, and we enjoy it. So you got a snippet for us? Do you have a snippet of truth?
I've spent the last 2 days sharing over about 70 scriptures.
Bring one up. Bring one to us. You can remember one.
There is so much that I have. Let me just get again, it's so funny, I used to anytime that I would prepare for a sermon, I would always say, Lord, what is it that you want me to say? And so I've asked him what truth that he wants me to share. And I just over and over and over again, he keeps saying the same thing. And it's all based around one question. And the question is this: if you were to count how many churches are in the whole world, and there's one scripture that gives the answer. He said, I will build my church. Singular. One. People say my ministry, my church, my people. They're not ours. We own nothing. Nothing. Our air that we breathe is not ours. He could take it at any moment. The time that we have, not ours. We're borrowing it. So I think if you can disconnect ownership of everything to the creator and recognize that everything that you have belongs to him, I think you'll be a happier person. A lot of people forget and try and take ownership of everything, and you can't. He's in control. It's his. He wakes us up every day. There are people that are driving home who are not going to make it. And that's sad, but he controls it. So if you're trying to hold on to everything in your life, let go. I mean, why else would Carrie Underwood have made millions of dollars on Jesus Take the Wheel? Because he is driving. He is in control. We are borrowing everything that he gives us, our internet, our computers, our time, our wrestling gear, our buildings, everything. It all belongs to him. And he's going to use it in any way he sees fit. And he doesn't need permission from us to do anything. If he wants to use a donkey to speak, by golly, he will use a donkey to speak. If he wants to use, matter of fact, every single man who's ever been in that Bible were imperfect. And that he says, in their weakness, do they become strong. So if you're struggling, if you're feeling weak, if you're having a difficult time, there's only one thing you have to do. Turn it over to him. Give it to him. I don't care if it's a financial situation, a health situation, whatever it is, money, whatever the situation might be, he's waiting for you right now to give it to him. Now you have a choice. You can give it to him or not. If you give it to him, he's going to do something with it. I guarantee it. But if you don't give it to him, he's not. And he's going to let you go down that path until finally you've come to a point where you've exhausted every asset, every resource but him. And then you come to yourself and say, you know, I can't do it anymore. And that's the best place to be in. Sometimes they say being in the bottom is the best place to be because all you can do is look up. And so whatever you have that's going through you right now, give it to him because he is in charge of it. He's building his church every day. I'm telling you, it blows my mind how you look at other countries, like, for example, Pakistan, who recently the Muslims have destroyed that there was a lie that went around. And now the Muslims went and destroyed a bunch of Christian churches. And I mean like a lot of them. And a lot of people died. And a lot of people don't understand, why would God allow that to happen? And only if you knew how they ran their church would you understand. And what I mean by that is they spend hours in prayer, hours in music, yet minutes in his word. You cannot know God unless you read his word. There's no other way you can know him outside of what he says. We have a manual, and pun intended, God with us, right? Emmanuel, God with us. We have a spirit within us. He's given us a spirit, and he's given us his word. Everything we need to know pertaining to life is found right here. We just have to read it and understand it. And that's what we've been going through. In 1 Peter, in chapter 5, the whole concept of this chapter is all centered around the custodians who are suffering, the shepherds who are suffering. All throughout the Bible, suffering exists. And it exists for blessing as well as for discipline. If you have a child and that child is not following your rules, do you let them go on and hurt themselves? No, you correct them. Why? Because you love them. He says, for those I love, I correct. So take correction and suffering positively. Even Job, who was blameless, he was righteous. He was the most righteous man at that time. He feared God. He shunned away from evil. And yet he allowed the enemy to come in because God asked him, have you considered Job? He said, I can't touch Job. You have a wall of protection around him. Everything that you've given him, I can't touch it. He said, but maybe he loves you because you bless him. Take away his blessings and he'll curse your name. He didn't. He lost his family, except his wife. He lost everything. But and in the middle of his suffering, he said, when God is done with me, never blamed Satan. He never did. He said, when God is done with me, I will come forth as gold, meaning I don't know. He said, naked I come, naked I go. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He giveth, he taketh away. He recognized that he wasn't in control and that God was. Not one time in the book of Job does he blame Satan, because Satan had to have permission. God said, okay, here's what you can do, and here's what you can't do. And he gave the parameters. So if you're blaming Satan for all the problems that you're going through, Isaiah 45:7 says that men may know from the rising of the setting of the sun that I create light, I create darkness, I create well-being, I create calamity. I do all these. The Pakistan churches need to recognize that they need to put his word first. And I don't have all the facts, but looking from the outside in, I can tell you that he does not take his children lightly. And if you are teaching his children the wrong way, he will do whatever it takes to send correction. All throughout the Bible, Israel disobeyed, and he disciplined them. And today, we're going through this life. If we're trusting him, right, then if we're suffering, there's a reason for our suffering. He says it produces endurance. Think about all the lessons in life that you've learned. Only until you suffer. That's why he says in Ecclesiastes, in the days of prosperity, be happy. In the days of adversity, consider. We can't have one without the other. We share the sufferings of Christ so that we can learn comfort from him and then share it with all those who need comforting. That is my snippet of truth. And
Amen.
Again, I didn't have to pray. I didn't have to be religious. I just had to shut up and wait for God to tell me what to say. And if you go back and watch this video, there's about a 3-second pause I do. And in that 3 seconds, I said within my soul, Lord, you better give me, because he didn't give me anything. And I was like, uh-oh, this is a first. Well, if I can have all the Bible knowledge in the world, but if I don't apply it, it's useless. If a pilot goes to pilot school and he's flying a plane and something goes wrong and he doesn't apply what he knows, people are dead. So within 3 seconds, go back and watch, you'll see. I looked down and then I looked up and I thought, Lord, give me something. And I haven't been able to shut up since.
Well, Big Daddy P, we appreciate you every single week that you come on. And when I sent you the message earlier and you told me that you weren't going to be able to make it, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of disappointing. I was one of my favorite segments of the week, but then then all of a sudden I saw your message and then you popped up. I'm like, well, we're going to go ahead and roll with this. And, we do, thank you for coming on. You were such an inspiration to everybody. And I mean, I think this is probably one of everyone's favorite segments of the week.
Well, I'm just thankful for the privilege and the opportunity to be able to represent heaven. And I always hope that I do a good job, because I don't want to stand before him and he asked me the question, how did you treat my people? Man, I don't even know. It's so funny. The closer to him I get, the less important I become, and his people become more important to me. I mean, it's kind of weird and it sounds crazy, but when Paul said to live as Christ, to die as gain, I get it, man. Because to live for God's purpose, to love his people instead of my own selfish desires, which that's all I did when I was in music for 30 years. It was all about two things, getting high and getting laid. That was it. That's all I cared about. But then I realized there was more important things to life. And when I figured out why he gave me such a big mouth and I began to use it and share his truth, that's why now if I share my opinion, you can argue with me. But if I share his word, the argument ain't with me, because I didn't write it. I don't write the rules. I just break them.
Well, Big
Are you ready
Daddy,
to pray?
Yeah,
Do we have any additional prayer requests?
There was one that came in. Let me throw it up here real quick. Aaron said his cousin's baby girl was just born 2 weeks ago, and apparently they named her Heavenly. So
cool.
So you want to lead us out?
Wait, put that back up one more time. I didn't get finished reading that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hold on one second. This is
Got it?
Absolutely.
And then he followed it up with like her name. He named her Heavenly. So I'm gonna go ahead. Let's throw you out before because we got our guests waiting. But go ahead and let's bow our heads in a little bit of prayer.
Father God, thank you so much for your goodness and for your grace and for your mercy and for your word and all that you continue to do. I thank you in advance for answering our prayers. You tell us that if we ask and believe it, you will do it. It's not name and claim it. You're not a genie that we rub just to get whatever we want. You are our faithful Father. And when we have a need, you know how to fill it. So, Father, I pray for those that haven't come to you yet, that they would trust you today. I thank you for Heavenly. I thank you for the testimonies of those that continue to share your goodness and grace on this show. For this show could turn their focuses on everything but you, but they have dedicated a time for you. They have sanctified a moment in their show dedicated to you, and that's why you continue to grow it. And I thank you for these men who have such a wonderful heart, who love wrestling, who love your people, and I pray that you meet them at their needs. Father, that you bless them abundantly, that they can't help but shut up about your grace and about your mercy that you continue to show this country. For this country, Father, it's falling apart. And there are people that are just messing things up. But we know in the midst of chaos, you work all things together for good for those who love you. And so I pray for those, Father, that have trusted you today. I pray that you meet them at their needs, that you comfort them in whatever way they need to be comforted. For those, Father, who have not put their faith and trust in you, if they're listening right now, Father, I pray that just they will take a moment to acknowledge you, that they will try you today, because you are so faithful and your loving kindness is new every morning, and great is your faithfulness. We love you so much, and we look forward to the time that we can be together again, God willing, next week. But Father, I just pray that we can never say goodbye, but always say until next time, because your return is imminent. You will be back. We will be raptured up. We will be caught up with you, and we will not go through the tribulation, because you promised us that there will be no more tears, no more pain, no more sorrow. All the old things have passed away, and there's something new that's coming up. And may they trust you today. You're the one who wrote the words, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and you will be saved. It is written that by believing that Jesus is the Christ, that we would have eternal life. It is by faith and faith alone that we can trust you today. Jesus plus nothing. I thank you so much and I love you. And I ask these things in Christ's name. Amen. I love you guys.
All right, Big Day P. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I'm glad we got to see you, and we will see you again next week, hopefully. Good Lord willing, that the creek don't rise.
Hey, until next time.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. All right. I mean, that's probably the most uplifting thing we could do all week is the snippets of truth. But we do have our guest. He is backstage. But first, we do have to take care of a little bit of business. We got our sponsors, Royal Mills Transportation, the one and only CEO, Dewan Mills, Rathbun Engraving, the Wrestle Talk Podcast mugs, $20, Nobleman's Barbershop, KC, Missouri, Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, the Interstate 70 Sports Media with the one and only the Maestro, Jeremy Karp, Little Popeye Designs, they give you those great Wrestle Talk Podcast tumblers, and the world's premier fantasy wrestling organization, the FWWC. Well, Justin, we got backstage a true legend in the professional wrestling business. I know you're looking forward to this interview, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him on right now. He is the promoter for SICW here in the Illinois area, but he's also the Cauliflower Alley Club Benevolent Outreach Ambassador and Membership Communicator. He is the one and only, the legendary Herb Simmons. Mr. Simmons, welcome back to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure to tune in to your program. As I say all the time, it's programs like yours that help keep our business alive and moving forward.
And I want to start things off about what happened this past weekend at You had an event. You had a steel cage match. Bobby D and Sean Vincent. Do you want to tell the Wrestle Up podcast family how that whole show went?
Yeah, it was a great show. You know, it's always great when we go back for these organizations year after year and help them raise some funds because, you know, as you know, during the pandemic time, a lot of the organizations, in fact, all of them weren't able to hold their annual fundraisers. So everybody's kind of in a catch-up mode now and trying to rebuild their funds up. And so, you know, we get called from these organizations and said, hey, we'd like to have you back again. And this was our third year, I believe, that we've been there for the Belleville Little Devils, and just a great organization, does great for the community with the youth, you know, their football programs, their cheerleading programs that they do. Just a tremendous night. We were kind of skeptical all week long with the forecast of the high temperatures and being an outdoor show.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, it was down to I think Thursday, you know, we said, hey, we're going to go with it. You know, we'll see if Mother Nature is going to be good to us. And by gosh, I got to tell you, when that sun set down on Saturday evening, because, you know, there's no trees around the football field. And, and it was great. You know, the fans brought their lawn chairs, they brought their blankets, and it was just a great night of SICW live professional wrestling. And of course, you know, Bobby D is one of the coaches for the Belleville Little Devils, does a tremendous job in their wrestling programs there. And he was in the main event. It was either do or die for him or for the Canadian Zero, as I like to call him, Sean Vincent. and I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you saw many of the videos or pictures that the fans.
I've seen the pictures. Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the matches that will be talked about for a long time, and that steel cage match, because, you know, people say, oh, we're going to have a steel cage match, and you show up there and they've got, you know, a chain link fence. The cage we have is a steel cage, and it did the job on both of them. And in fact, my stress level got up pretty high there in that match, and it's like I said, it'll be one to be talked about for a long time.
And Aaron chimes in that Bobby D did win the Central States Championship.
Yes, he did. He, you know, the Central States title. Him and Sean Vincent has had a feud of not only over the Central States title, but over the Bruiser Brody Trophy Cup that Sean Vincent and his lackey, the big nasty Glenn Williams, has taken and has put it in hiding. In fact, they had it up on sale on eBay for a couple of weeks. So nobody seems to know where it is. I have been trying to stay out of that, but I got a feeling that the roads are going to come together here, and we're going to have a meeting of those roads over that Bruiser Brody Cup, because Bobby D won that Trophy Cup for the second time last May at the Bruiser Brody Memorial at the big fan fest that we did, and they took it there shortly after that. And but we'll see what happens with that Bruiser Brody Trophy Cup.
Yeah, and is it hard to put on one, like going back to this fan fest? Was it hard to put on this fan fest, like to get to coordinate everything? I could only imagine you're probably on the phone 24/7 with wrestlers wanting to come in and trying to get people to come in for like exhibits and stuff like that. How tough was it to put that together?
Well, when you talk about stress levels, I mean, it was quite stressful because it was something that started off with just we were going to bring in, you know, 4, 5, 6 of the legends, and then I got to thinking, and Nick Rednire, who was helping me with it, you know, you guys know Nick, a great guy, senior referee for me. And, you know, I told him, I said, Nick, the year before in October, we had 11 legends in at the Belle Claire Fairgrounds. So I said, you know, if we're going to do a fan fest, first time ever one has ever been put together in St. Louis, you know, they have them all over the country, but to say we're going to do the first one ever in St. Louis, we've got to blow it out of the ballpark. And so it mushroomed. I mean, I was getting calls from, and I think that was what was really amazing about it, is I was getting legends calling me and saying, hey, there would be no Ted DiBiase if it wasn't for St. Louis. I'll come in and help out on that card. And then Jerry Briscoe, we were inducting him into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. And then he called me back and said, "Hey, would you mind if I have JBL come in and do the induction?" I mean, what am I going to do? Say no? JBL? No, come on. And it just mushroomed, Stan Hansen, people like that, Teddy Long. We had 52 legends that we had booked for that show. And we ended up with 50 of them there. The other two was travel arrangements got mixed up, but I'll take 50 out of the 52. That's a pretty good percentage.
I mean, that's pretty good percentage because travel isn't always the easiest thing, and things come up, people get sick and stuff like that. So,
well, and I can tell you, from the morning after, GT Collectibles, Scott Wilder Promotions that came in, brought some of the guys in. We're just excited about how great it was, how professional it was put together. And I'm not bragging about that, but that's what they were telling me, to the fact that, just this week, we've been on the phone with each other's talking about if there's going to be an SICW Fan Fest 2, they're on board with us, whatever we need to do to put it together. And I would hope that within the next week, I'll be making a decision. As I tell people quite frequently now, it seems like the tank is getting close to empty, and we are booked. We're booked all the way to the end of the year with helping our so, like I said, we've got a lot of shows coming up, and even some wanting to book in the next year already, and I'm trying to stay uncommitted until I decide on some things that's got to happen, but we'll go from there.
Yeah. So Aaron did want to know what is the condition of the Big Texan. I was not able to be at the show this past week, so do you have any updates on Big Texan?
Yeah, Big Texan was the victim of a brutal attack from one of the most controversial advisors out there, Stephen E., who heads up the Devastation Incorporated organization of Peyton Ayers, Attila Khan, and at one time he had Derek Stone in the organization with him until Derek got sidelined for a while. But they had a match Saturday night, and a Big Texan against Peyton Ayers, and Stephen E. decided to interject himself, and Texan was a victim of a fireball that was thrown in his face, and he's got some irritation, of course, to the face and to the eyes, and as recently as today, he was still having some issues. But we'll keep an eye on him to see how he's going to be, if he's going to be sidelined for any length of time at all. But Stephen E. Came on the scene here a little over a year ago, and his main focus has been to purchase SICW. And as recently as our last set of TV tapings, I got to say, and I give the Devils his due, he's made a lucrative offer. But of course, the fan. I've always been fan friendly. And so a lot of the fans, I will rely on them on what they think about that.
Stephen E. seems to become the new thorn in your side, kind of like Travis Cook was for the longest time.
Well, when Travis Cook was ran out of here by the hands of Flash Flanagan, basically, I thought that, man, we were going to have a nice, easy, smooth operation, and then along comes Stephen E., and then along comes Lucky P. Larson, Esquire. So I hate to say this, I'm not so sure I wouldn't have preferred to still have Travis Cook over Lucky P. Larson, Esquire, and Stephen E.
You kind of know what you're getting.
Could you imagine if I had all three of them?
You'd be locked in an insane. You'd be locked in an insane asylum. They would be throwing you somewhere in a padded room. So Justin, I'll let you go ahead and take over for a little bit.
Hey, Mr. Simmons, it's good to see you. Thank you for being on. You are a legend like no other, and you did say that tank is running out, but we're sure very grateful that there's still some gas in that tank. with your shows you have every month and the Sunday shows, you're giving fans of the Midwest and all over the world that catch a show on YouTube what Wrestling at the Chase was all about. Is that what you're going for when you do those Sunday shows, those YouTube shows?
Yeah, it's definitely a takeoff of the old Wrestling at the Chase programs. I was fortunate many years ago to be there when those were done, when they taped those shows on a Sunday afternoon, and that's kind of it's just kind of a remake of what they did back then. We had the show this month on that Saturday night at the Belclair Fairgrounds, and we hold the guys over for Sunday afternoon, and we take 4 1-hour shows, and that's what they did at Wrestling at the Chase, and then we build everything back up. Like this one, we'll be back at the fairgrounds in Belleville on September the 9th, and it's kind of it's a studio setting with the interviews, just kind of like what they did not only in St. Louis, but all around the country, whether it be in the Memphis area or Texas, wherever, back when they had territorial days. We were fortunate here in St. Louis because of Sam Muchnick, and the owner of the Chase Park Plaza, and he owned the television KPLR TV Channel 11 at that time, and so it was a match made in heaven. That deal was made on an airplane with a handshake. Basically, Sam Muchnick had the wrestling, and Harold Koppler owned the Chase Park Plaza, and so it worked out perfect. They had the venue. Harold Koppler had the TV to where they could promote it, and that's how it started in 1959.
And you're still trying. You are by far, I believe, doing some of the best work in the Midwest area. You're giving many of those guys a chance to shine and get themselves out there. You guys, from newcomer Brandon Beretta, with him coming up, I see him coming up through the ranks. You guys got high flyers like Billy McNeil, and we got the Canadian Hero Zero, Sean Vincent. I've known him for some time. And you got legends like Gary Jackson. So it's like you got a flavor for everybody.
Well, if you look, pound for pound in our locker room, a lot of the big guys, a Kowalski, 450 pounds, can go out there and go. Big Joe Helms is a newcomer on the scene. What a monster he is, the silverback character he's got now. The Big Texan, my classic champion, the Big Texan, around a long time. Superstar Steve Fender, Attila Khan. There's guys that were trained by the late, great Harley Race, the greatest of all times, So when you look at the experience that's in the SICW locker room, we have nothing to be ashamed of. And, and I appreciate the comment of, you're saying we're doing a lot here in the Midwest, but, there's no shortage of promotions in and around the Missouri, Illinois area, and everybody's trying to do the best they can. They go out there and give, but 110%. I don't fault any of the workers that are out there because they're trying to do their best. Do I fault some of the promoters for not trying to do better? Yeah, and I tell them that there's things that I think some promoters could do better, and I could probably do better on some things, but I think for the most part of it, we try to do the best and give the fans the best possible show wherever we go, and whether it be over in Missouri, or whether, here in a few weeks, we'll be out in Sandoval, Illinois. We'll be in Fairmont City, Illinois, Cahokia Heights, Illinois. So wherever you see the SICW banner, the fans are going to get their money's worth. When you talk about the Sunday night show, I've been around long enough to know that people are watching it from not only in the United States, but from other countries. I get messages. Oh, wow. I mean, all over, from the UK. And I'm smart enough to know that nobody's going to jump on an airplane, whether it be in Pennsylvania or New York, and fly into St. Louis and come to an SICW show. But what that is doing is it's getting the boys in the locker room that exposure. And because we do work with other promotions that want to work with us, whether it be Jason Jones down at Mid-States Wrestling in Springfield and down in the Arkansas area, or whether it be the Golden Boy Greg Anthony, who holds the World Heavyweight title for the AIWF. or whether it be Troy Peterson from Impact Pro Wrestling or Scotty Z from New Breed Wrestling. And I'm throwing those names out there because I get beat over the head that, oh, Herb Simmons don't want to work with nobody else. Well, that's bullcrap. If you want to work, if you want to share some of your talent and you want to use some of our talent, all you guys do, I'm the easiest guy to find in this business. And if they don't want to, and there's some guys that will call me and there's some guys I say no, because your style is not our style. And I'm not going to pretend to be. And your style's okay for what your fans want, but your style doesn't fit into old school wrestling. And that's just it. It's nothing personal. It's business.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been around the St. Louis area for a long time. I mean, you're like one of the big legend. Do you see that the independent wrestling scene is thriving the most right now in St. Louis? It's like one of the biggest times in St. Louis for independent wrestling.
Well, I think the operative word there is thriving. Thriving means, I mean, is it thriving or is it just oversaturated with matches? When you have a organization is thriving, that's when you're drawing good attendance and you've got good shows. I'll be honest with you, there are some shows out there that aren't drawing, but they continue to work, and that's fine. That's good. But yeah, I mean, wrestling is at its all-time high as far as shows on any. I mean, try turning on a night that there's not wrestling on TV somewhere. It's unbelievable. But Sam Muchnick always said it was like a roller coaster. And right now we are probably at that high point once again. But the bottom will definitely, the brakes will loosen up, and it will take a downslide.
It always does.
It always does. It's. But again, let's ride that roller coaster while we can. And I'm excited. I think the one thing, as I said a few moments ago, oversaturation. Some people say, "Oh, that's good for the business." Well, it all depends if you're in it for the business or if you're in it for a hobby. And I think that's what people have to decide. We look at it, the boys need to work. They need to get paid. They need to be safe. And like I said, if you find anybody in my locker room that tells you otherwise, I mean, it's a family. They come in, they know what their job is. They've got chat rooms they chat on. They, the guys that don't get along with one another still know business is business. And our fans are just one big, happy SICW family. They follow us all over,
That's what I always done, because I've been in the business on and off since the late 90s, and I try not to ruffle. I try to not ruffle any feathers with any. There's very few people that I'm not happy with in the wrestling business, but I'm not going to go up to them. But if it comes down to business, I'm going to be business. It's business first when you're in a wrestling locker room. You sometimes have to put personal feelings aside.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I mean it's I've had guys. I just let a young man come back that was with us and left and talk bad about us, talk bad about the Ace Wrestling Academy. But guess what? He showed back up Saturday night with humble pie. Basically, we all make mistakes. We all deserve a second chance, and I'm a sucker for that. And again, but I think that I can lay my head down tonight and say, hey, I gave an individual a chance, and now you got to take that chance. And the old saying, you can lead the horse to the trough, but you can't make him drink it, and that's so true. And now I gave this young man. Now, if he turns out to be good, then I made the right decision. And the gentleman in the locker room that recommended it would feel good about it also. If he does what he did last time and leaves, then it's on him. And that's happened to a few other guys. Somebody dangles something out there, a carrot or whatever, and this business has always been a dog-eat-dog world. It's kind of like whoever's, Justin, you've been out there. Somebody waves a title in front of you, or hey, I'm going to make you this, I'm going to make you that, and if you come over here, I would think that the people who say they've been in this business a long, long time should not even think about that. You know, they don't think about the wins and the losses. They think about, hey, I want to go out there, I want to do my job, I want to make some money, I want to make the fans happy, whether you're the good guy or the bad guy.
Yep.
You know, but wrestling was invented and created on good against evil, and I think that's what separates some of us from some of the other ones.
Justin, go ahead.
Oh, you know, when you talk about, you know, people worrying about their wins and losses, it's not about that. It's about what you leave that person that's watching, the memory. They see the stuff on television. When they come to us, we got to do our best. I'm talking like I'm still active. I wish I was, you know, maybe someday, but you know, you want to give them the impression that they just watched what they saw on television. You want that child, you know, because, you know, growing up, I was 9 years old when I was introduced to pro wrestling. And I thought it was good guy versus bad guy, superheroes and villains. And I get a smile on my face because I believe there's still kids out there, when they come to these shows, they still get that feeling. And that's why, Mr. SImmons, with your product, I still get that old school belief that there's good guys and bad guys in the world. And you guys have really done a good job with, man, especially when you talk about bad guys. Attila Khan, when I see him in the ring, I get mixed feelings about that. You know, man, he's a dastardly SOB, but man, I get goosebumps because you don't see big guys like that anymore. I think of Vader, I think of Hansen, Brody when I see Attila Khan.
Yeah, well, you see right there, he was in the back wall there.
Yep.
You know, those three gentlemen right there, Sam and Larry and Brody, Frank Goodish. There's no Herb Simmons sitting here talking to you tonight if it wasn't for those three individuals, because they introduced me to so many of the people in the business, and you know, and I think that's why I was able to pull 50 of the all-time greats under one roof. That's why just last weekend I had 2 weekends ago I had Tito Santana in.
Oh.
You know, later on this year I've got Jake the Snake Roberts coming in. I got Bret Hart coming in. I got Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming in. So those are guys that you know, those are names that everybody remembers. You know?
You're gonna want to make Justin move back to St. Louis as soon as possible to come out to these shows. But
if it wasn't for this, I'd still be in St. Louis, guys.
Well, I think we talked about it the one night, Justin. You know what they say: happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life. Yes, we did get to go to the Tragos Thez Hall of Fame ceremony. That was a fun time. That was one of my first conventions like that. So I had a good time, and
I loved it.
Yeah, Justin, we had to talk about it the show after we got back. It was me, him, and Luke, and we were talking about it, and it was just we had a great time the whole weekend.
Yeah, I think I saw you guys on the road trip on the way back, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, we were bickering. We got tired of one another. By the time it was all said and done, we were like, "Let's get home."
I just want to go home. But yeah,
I was lucky. I had my lovely wife riding with me, so she was keeping me occupied. And yeah, it's always a great time up there. You know, Jerry Briscoe. You know, he gave us a little scare that night, but I was glad to see that. You know, everything was okay with Jerry. He's a great friend, and you know, with JBL and everybody there, and the museum is great. You know, it's everybody. Troy Peterson, the wrestling event he puts on that night. You know, and of course I took Haku and the Boogie Woogie Man up there, and had a great time. And you know, just to see, you know, the Baron and people like that. So we've already I've got booked, if everything goes as planned. I mean, I'll be taking Tito Santana up there next year.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I just got an email from them that they're starting their own online newsletter. So I already signed up for it. So I can't wait to get the monthly newsletter. If you go to Tragos Thez, they have a sign up. They have an email that you send it to, and they'll put you on the list.
Next year is their 25th anniversary.
25th, yes.
So we're actually planning. They've asked me to sit on the board up there. So they want to plan a big 25th anniversary. So I think it will even be bigger and better than it ever has been.
Well, I had fun.
Not because I'm going to be helping them, but it's just the 25th is always a special one, and you always try to reach down for those earmarks of those 25th anniversaries.
Yeah. So, but up on the horizon, I know you've been busy with SICW, but in a couple of weeks, you've got the Cauliflower Alley Club out in Las Vegas. I know that's one of your big events every year that you go to. That's one of my bucket list items to go to. I just haven't had a chance to go yet. So,
yeah, actually, it's next week.
Next weekend, yes.
Well, yeah, it's actually we leave out Monday, and we could leave Monday and come back Thursday. But yeah, this is the 57th reunion of the Cauliflower Alley Club, and for something that's been going on that long, it makes me think about SICW, how long they've been going, 50 years, and this is the 57th anniversary. And B. Brian Blair, God bless him, in his leadership. People like Barbara Goodish and Darla Staggs and Pam Morrison, people that help out that organization. Rich Engling, the vice chairperson, and the other board members. It's a job. People don't realize that an organization like that, when that ends next Thursday, on Friday they start planning for the following year.
Right. You have to.
Yeah. You got to make sure you get the hotel. You got to get that all locked in, because those places are booked up a year in advance, and then you got to start looking at your guests and okay, who's going to be able to make the trip. And what I like about it is it's kind of like a surprise. It's like Christmas. You never know who's going to show up out there. And, I know this year, I know some of the honorees, Mickey James is there, and Coco Beware, CM Punk. So it's, and that's just a few, but then they always will have some extra surprises that they jump in there. I'm looking forward to one of the talks that they're going to have is with James Beard, a great friend, referee, senior referee from down in Texas. But him and JBL is going to be doing a talk on.
Yeah, he was just on the podcast not even a month ago, right before the Hall of Fame, right before the Tragos Hall of Fame. So
yeah, I listened into that. Yeah, well, and he's great. He was our special guest referee in our main event in May at the Fan Fest in that Texas Death Match. I couldn't think of anybody else better to have him in there. And in fact, leading up to that, when I reached out to him, but then I reached out to Dory Funk Jr. Because his father was the one who invented the Texas Death Match. And so I wanted to have him explain, and I interviewed him on what the rules of a Texas Death Match was in St. Louis. And because there was a lot of fans that didn't know that, it's just like we got September 9th, we got a boot camp match coming up between Attila Khan and Gary Jackson. Again, there's that good against bad, good against evil. The All-American Gary Jackson, who never ages a day.
Oh, he had to, man. I tell everybody, I'm like, Gary Jackson looks, because I worked with Gary Jackson back in the late 90s. I did a couple shows with him. He looks the same then as he does now. He has not changed in all of his years. I mean, I don't get it. He's got the fountain of youth.
Well, he's got such a great attitude. That he's probably the one worker in the business that I've never, ever in all these years heard anybody say anything bad about.
No.
Never. I mean, they've always praised him. And like I said, he always goes out there and gives it 110%. And of course, I'd known him from back when he was actually too young to get in wrestling at the Chase, and they would sneak him in. Because you had to be 16 years old to get in back then for the TV tapings. And his mother used to be a dishwasher at the restaurant where Mickey Garagiola was the head waiter at. And she knew that Mickey was doing the ring announcing and that for the wrestling at the Chase. And she told him how her son just loved wrestling. And so they would bring him down and again get him in. So he was actually underage when he was showing up there.
But so back to the CAC. What are you looking forward to most during that weekend?
What I always look forward to is getting out there because with my position with them, I get calls from people around the globe. A lot of members from Canada calling and wanting to check and make sure their membership is updated. And but it's a big family. I mean, the minute I get there, and it seems like everybody knows me from SICW. And everybody that extended family is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to see some of the other promoters from across the country that I've maybe only talked to on the phone or private messaging back and forth. Last night I was on the phone with a gentleman from up in the New York area that's going to be there. And I saw him when he was in St. Louis for the NWA 74 last year. And he'll be here for the NWA 75, which is coming up
this weekend. It's this weekend, yeah.
Of course, I'll be in Vegas. I'd sooner be in Vegas anyway, but that's another story. But I'm looking forward to some of the seminars they have there. The young lady that's doing the talk on the fighting with social media on how to use that. Young lady Brittany that I met out there a couple of years ago. In fact. She sat at our table, and we become good friends with them. And she's going to do a kind of a little educational on what she's learned about using social media. A couple of years ago, they had me on a panel out there of several of the promoters, and it was kind of like youngest promoter all the way up to the oldest promoter. And of course, I was sitting at that end of the table. And she had a lot of good questions that she was asking because she's got a little promotion that she runs. And but I'm really looking forward to that. The Nostalgia Room's always a great time. That's where everybody hangs out at. You'll see some of the legends in there, and everybody will be telling stories. And of course, they have the one night they'll have a karaoke night they're having this year, it's at the Plaza Hotel. I was always partial to the Gold Coast when we were there because they had a TGI Friday there all those years. And when I would get there from the airport, they would actually have a table, the same table every year, and it would have the SICW tag on it because that's where everybody kind of congregated after all of the hoopla, and stuff like that. We'd all end up down there. So you may come down there and there'd be Baron von Raschke sitting there, or there'd be Stan Hansen or Haku. And we'd sit there hours and hours and hours. I tell the story that the one year Stan Hansen and I went in there and we had breakfast and we had lunch and we had dinner and never left the place. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to talk with Stan Hansen, but the guy is just full of stories. And, not only when he wrestled a lot in the AWA, but when he was over in Japan and, shy of getting up and going and relieving yourself, the waitress come back and, it was like, lunch. Okay. You want supper? Yeah. And so we were there. We ate all 3 meals there, never really left there. And, what great memories that is, And,
I think I told Justin, I walked into the Hall of Fame banquet in Iowa, and the first person you see sitting at he was sitting at your table was Haku. You're you just kind of take a step back and you're like, am I really here? Is this like real life? Because I am in the wrestling business, but still Haku was part of my childhood. I remember watching him growing up. So
I think Jerry Briscoe said it best about, I want to say maybe 5 years ago. He had me come up and help in Waterloo because he always would do a little seminar up there with the boys, and they'd have tryouts, and then afterwards they'd take them into another room, and he'd ask me and James Beard to sit there with him and kind of critique what they're doing and see it from the referee's point of view, from him as a worker point of view, and then me as a promoter. So we would go into the other room and we would all give our critique of the students that was there. And one of the students made a comment about, well, I don't know if I should say this, but I kind of mark out every week. And Jerry Briscoe said, let me tell you something. He says, I mark out about 17 hours a week. I watch everything it's on. So the word mark is something that we don't like to use. But even Jerry said, hey, 17 hours a week I mark out. You know?
I mean, you have to be a fan. You have to be a fan to be in the business, right, Justin?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm a fan. I will be a fan. I don't get to watch it as much as I used to because of life, but I'll be a fan until my last breath. It's brought so much joy to me and to so many others. And you see that video where that one guy gets all emotional when he's talking. He says it's still real to me. Damn it. Well, there's a lot of people that have that feeling in themselves, and they make fun of that guy video, but you know how much happiness it's brought to people that are down on their luck. They turn on the television, and for an hour, they can just forget all about their problem.
Well, and that's what I tell people all the time. I'm going to take you for 2.5 hours into the land of make-believe. I'm going to make you forget about the price of gas, the price of milk. Now, the reality of that is you're going to have to come back and remember that when you leave out of there. But for 2.5 hours, you're going to be booing and cheering and just having a great time at a reasonable price. And I think that, just because the curtain's been pulled back and the Wizard of Oz, everybody knows who that was, doesn't mean that a good promoter or his staff has to buy into it. I get the question asked if I'm doing interviews sometimes about when I come on, this is wrestling's this, and I tell the story all the time. Sam Muchnick used to have people, he'd be sitting in a restaurant and Larry and I may be sitting with him, and somebody would walk up and say, hey, Sam, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. And Sam would say, hey, how you doing? So-and-so. And the guy would say, oh, you still promoting that fake wrestling stuff? And this Bulldog Bob Brown still come out and cover his ears up when the crowd's barking at him? And Sam would say, yeah, he's got bad ears, I guess. And so the guy would walk away and Sam would say, closet fan. Because how else would he know that Bulldog Bob Brown covered his ears up unless he's watching it, And again, who cares? I tell, especially when I get interviewed by the news, if I'm doing a special show in a town, I'm a big John Wayne fan. If I want to believe John Wayne was out there shooting the bad guys or shooting whatever, that's my entertainment. Don't talk about John Wayne because you'll make me mad. Same way about professional wrestling.
That's how I feel about. Every time I see Bill Murray, I think of him as Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters. He's always going to be a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
So,
and what I think I like about the local shows is that you get that personal. You can go to a WWE show, but you're not going to get that personal feeling, of seeing someone, come out during intermission and shake hands and take pictures and sign autographs. The WWE guys, they're not, and the AEW guys, they're not going to do that during intermission or after this. They may do it after the show if they see the fans, but during the show, I've seen so many great pictures from wrestlers with pictures with fans, and I'm like, this is why you do that. This is why they do this. It's for them. So
speaking of good guys, I seen on your feed here, Matty guy talks about how Tito had a great conversation when he was there, and Matty's one of those guys that's has got a lot of knowledge of the business, and it was it's always he goes up to Waterloo and he comes to quite a few of the shows, and he's out in Vegas, and so I just wanted to give Matty a shout out there.
Yeah, I've announced a couple of his matches when he was wrestling back in.
Yeah, he ought to still be in there.
He still looks like he could go. I mean, he's still. I mean, I don't know I don't know. There could be an extenuating injury, but yeah, I'm like I remember announcing him at a couple of shows up in like Illinois. So
yeah, he was there. He was there when Tito was in. He actually brought his. The Intercontinental replica belt there, and Tito said, "Oh my gosh, so and he let people take pictures with it with Tito, and but when you bring in a guy like Tito, and that's what I tell the guys in the locker room when I bring in these legends: if you don't sit there and pick their brain, shame on you, because it's a free educational to sit there and talk to a Ricky Steamboat or a Kevin Sullivan or whoever it may be. If you don't take advantage of that, just shame on you, because they're there and they'll critique your match. And, we always start off our night with a little round meeting in the locker room. And if I've got one of the guests in, we thank them, and I tell them if you're not out there in the ring wrestling, sit back over in the corner and talk to them. And that's what they did with Tito. I mean, and then on his way, he was sitting at the airport that Sunday morning, and he wrote this nice article and posted it and said, man, once again, Herb hit a home run, basically,
Yeah. So, Justin, do you have anything you want to ask?
There's so much stuff. I could sit here all night, Mr. Simmons, and speak with you. Now, I got a question. With all of the legends you have brought in, who is the one that you want to bring in that you haven't?
I'm glad you didn't ask which one was my best, because I can just point over my shoulder there, and that was Bruiser Brody. To this day, he's my favorite of all times, and we had a good relationship outside of the business itself. So yeah, if I could bring anybody back to put in that ring again, it would be him. If he was still with us, he'd be 77 years old. He was born in 1946, I think, if my math is right. He was with us the weekend before that terrible day in 1988 when he got murdered. And as far as the list of the ones that I've had in, I can't think of anybody that if I haven't had them in, it's just because the right opportunity hasn't came about.
Okay.
Because, when I'm out doing these, and 90% of our shows are for nonprofit organizations, and it depends on their budget, what they can afford. Like I said, in October, I'm going to the Chase Park Plaza at the Coruscant Room. First time I've ever had the SICW ring inside of the Coruscant Room.
Oh.
But that's where it started, on television in 1959. So I'm honored that is going to be another heyday for me, because that's where it started. It's a private show. It's for a private organization. But on that show, we'll have Bret the Hitman Hart, and Jimmy Hart will be there for that. We do a show, this will be the 4th year at the Missouri Athletic Club. This year, Jake the Snake Roberts is joining us. Hacksaw and Jimmy Hart will be there. And that is probably the closest thing that you've ever seen to the Coruscant Room. It's a ballroom setting. They pull out all the stops, and it's a private show also. But they have, 700-800 of their members show up for that. And but as far as who, Dutch Mantel, them guys, anybody, Tony Atlas, the list goes on and on and on. I had one organization call me a couple of weeks ago and say, hey, we want to do this. I want The Undertaker, and I'd like to have Stone Cold Steve Austin. I said, well, yeah, but when I tell you the price, you're going to say, well, can we go on down to so-and-so and so-and-so? So sometimes these organizations are unrealistic. And but there's just, I can't put a name on who I would want that I couldn't get. That's the question. And I'm not bragging about that. It's just that with the reputation of being able to, and then if I don't know them personally, I can pick up and call a Jerry Briscoe or a Ted DiBiase. And I'll give you a quick example. 2 years ago, the one show at the Missouri Athletic Club, they booked, they wanted Ric Flair. And so we got Ric Flair booked for him. And that was back when this plane ride from hell story broke, and things that happened. Rick kind of got under the weather, we'll say. And 48 hours before the show, his agents calling and saying Rick can't make it. Well, the organization's sitting there with 700 pre-advanced tickets out, and we hook up on a conference call, and I put their agent on there, and they're panicking. And it wasn't my responsibility because I had the separate contract with that organization for the Legend, and then I had the separate contract for the wrestling part of it. But I don't do business that way. I mean, because I want the repeat business. So within 48 hours, I helped him find somebody, and I called Ted DiBiase, and he got on an airplane and got here. And those are the kind of friendships you build in this business. Because as you know, if you get a bad reputation in this business, you might as well go look for something else to do, because your name becomes mud. And knock on wood, so far I haven't had the mud.
All right, Chris, what do you say to that?
No, I mean, that's I wish I had a Rolodex like that where I could just call and be like, but I don't have that. I'm just a ring announcer here locally. So
but don't count yourself short. There, I tell everybody, I got a great ring announcer. I got a great play-by-play guy who learned from Larry Mattisek, and that's Dr. Drew Ebenhaus.
Yeah.
He's been with me now going on 11 years, and he got to sit side by side with Larry Mattisek, and Larry taught him a lot of the business. And when you watch him on Sunday night, you can see it. He's great at what he does, and he can help make and break a match. Believe me. Same way with the ring announcers. Look at Mickey Garagiola, and I date all the way back, to the Garden Solis, the play-by-play people back in St. Louis. Johnny Curley, one of the first ring announcers. Eddie Gromacki, people like that. Sam Mineker. Everybody has a place in this business. The referees. Good referee gives you a good match. Bad referee gives you a bad match. So don't ever count yourself out. Believe me. The only one that you can count out is the promoter, because, as some say, they're a dime a dozen.
No, I wouldn't say that, because I mean, you have to kind of at least know what you're doing, especially business wise, especially nowadays. So, yeah. I want to get back to CAC. If someone wanted to sign up to become a CAC member, what would they do?
It's real easy. They can go to the to the Cauliflower Alley website. It's all on there. It's a real simple application. You can be an annual member. I think it's for like $27.50. I think it is. Lifetime membership is $300. And again, I tell all the boys in this business, if you're not a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club, shame on you, because it's kind of like a supplemental insurance policy. I have seen that organization help men and women in this business, whether it be the wrestlers, the referees, even the ring crews, the announcers, promoters that have fallen on hard times in this business. And for that small of a price, we never know when we're going to need it. Darla Staggs, I'm sure you all know Darla. She, one of our girls right here. Of course, she just moved to Florida now. She's retired, and we wish her well there. But she's in charge of the benevolent part of the Cauliflower Alley, and she's the one that, if there is one of the members that's been in the business for over, I think it's 3 to 5 years, and they need some assistance, she screens the applicant, and then she makes her recommendation to the executive board. And I won't tell you, because we don't disclose any information. I can tell you that they have helped many, many, many of our men and women in this business. And it's all done through the membership of people either being annual members or lifetime members. And again, it's the problem is our younger guys that are out there working now think they're invincible, that they're not going to fall on those hard times. And I can tell them, if you stay in this business long enough, you're going to end up with something. You're going to miss work. You're going to get behind on car payments, or you're going to get behind on house payments, or you're going to get behind on doctor bills. And so if anybody, and I did that, Rich Engling, who is the vice president of the organization, came in one of our shows a couple years ago. We were promoting the CAC, and I had him go out and do his speech to the crowd. We had a good crowd, and I was in the ring with him. In fact, I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here tonight. Everybody who signs up here tonight gets to come to the rest of the SICW shows here in town for the rest of the year. And there was like 8 months left of that year. And Rich was like, oh my gosh. And so he actually, when he got in the back, he called Brian Blair. This was at 9 o'clock at night, and said, you'll never guess what Herb just did. And between that and then Sunday afternoon taping, they signed up like, I think it was 21 people totally, which isn't a big number. But guess what? It's 21 more fans or members than what they had before. And then that kind of spread out throughout the country, and, a couple other promoters caught on to that, So we're always trying to push the membership. And to say you're a member of the Cauliflower Alley, I think is, if you're in this business, I think it's something to say.
I do need to probably I probably do need to join. I mean, I've been in the business for a long time. I just,
Yeah, things that it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and that's kind of why when they asked me to be involved, because I am active on social media, and I promote it, I talk about it. Like I said, I had a gentleman called yesterday, called today, 2 different people about their membership, and one guy wanted to know. He said, "Hey, are they going to have the bowling contest this year?" He said, "Last time I brought my bowling ball, and if they're going to have it again this year, I want to use my own bowling ball." So unfortunately, that was a question I had to defer to Rich Engling, because they're in charge of all that kind of stuff. But it's it's a fun time. The Cauliflower Alley it's always been close to my heart, and because I've seen them help so many people. It's just,
and like we said earlier, the convention's coming up. I'm going to throw up the poster that I found that I got offline. You can see it here. It's the 57th annual Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, August 28th through the 30th in Las Vegas. It's at the Plaza Hotel. Am I right?
Yep, Plaza Hotel, and that's right at Fremont Street. You walk out the door of the Plaza Hotel and walk across the street, and you're on Fremont Street,
which is the old strip. Right?
Yeah, it's you want to go down there, you can take the zip line. I tell you, have you ever been to Vegas?
I have. It's been a long time, but I have been to Vegas, and I have been to the old strip. And they've updated it since then. They didn't have the zip line when I was there. And
well, yeah,
it really wouldn't have mattered if they had the zip line when I was there. I wasn't going to do it because that's just.
I tell everybody, if I get on a curb, I get a nosebleed. So, but it's just the site. They've got the dome over it.
Yeah.
And,
at night they do like laser shows on it, don't they?
Oh, it's beautiful. It goes off, like every 15 minutes or so, whatever it is, and music's playing and bumping and thumping, and the street people are out there doing all of their stuff, and it's a city that never sleeps.
Well, I'm old and I need my sleep nowadays. So
believe me, I do too. I know when the witching hour comes, and of course I don't sleep a lot, but sometimes I just go back to the hotel. And last year, Bob Orton and I got to spend a lot of time in the hotel, and then we found a place that stayed open, and he loves the pool, so we shot a lot of pool.
Yeah, and apparently Luke Roberts last year won the cribbage. I believe the cribbage tournament last year. Second place in the cribbage tournament. So
yeah, Luke and Renee was out there, and in fact, we sat at the plaza. They had a food court that we got in late that night, and the only thing was open at that time was the Subway and the McDonald's. It's right there in the hotel, and so we sat there at McDonald's and with Renee and Luke, and kind of just chewed the fat a little bit. And I think that was their first time at.
That was both of their first time. So I'm gonna get out there eventually. I'm hoping to do. I got we got to save up some money and stuff, but
Yeah. It's a great time. You got to put it on your bucket list to get back or get there, and Because, like I said, it's a great way to network. I can't tell you how many contacts that I've made out there over the years that, you exchange names and numbers with people, and you may have only talked to them through, a text message or messenger, and you get out there and then right away you start talking about the business and find out that the business is a business everywhere, I tell people all the time, wrestling hasn't changed. A headlock has always been a headlock. An arm drag has always been an arm drag. What has changed is that little 3-letter word, ego.
Oh yeah.
If some people would drop their ego at the door and just realize that we are here to put on a show for the fans who spend their hard-earned money, especially nowadays. But you got to come and remember those people that are putting those butts in the seats are the ones who are letting us be able to do this. But when you got to come in and you got to be this and you got to be that, check it at the door.
It's just like even when I went to Trago's the Thez, the Hall of Fame in Iowa, there was someone that we interviewed a couple times here on the podcast that, and we exchanged messages occasionally, and he posts something every week about. He posts a weekly post about, hey, put out your wrestling shows, and I talked to him and we had like a 15-minute conversation at the Hall of Fame banquet, and I never met him until then. Shook his hand, and he was one of the most nicest people that I've ever met. So
yeah, that's what I mean. It's everybody that's anybody in the business wants the business to prosper and keep it going, because if you stop and think about it, how many guys do you know that's out there on just in the Midwest that's busting their tail once a month, whatever it might be? They're never going to make it to the big stage. I tell everybody, don't give up your day job, because it's just not going. I don't care with all the organizations out there, everybody from the top ones down to the mediocre ones. The NWA, the Billy Corgans, who's trying to reinvent the NWA. It will never, ever be the NWA as I know it, because the people who made the NWA aren't there anymore. And he's not trying to do that. He's trying to modernize it. I have people ask me all the time, when is wrestling at the Chase ever going to come back? It won't be, because one, Sam Muchnick's not there. Dick the Bruiser's not with us anymore. Johnny Valentine's not with us anymore. People like that, Lou Thez, they're the ones that made wrestling at the Chase. All I'm doing now is trying to build on that foundation that they built and left. And I think we try to do a good job at it. But you will never duplicate it.
Exactly. Well, before we let you go, Herb, we're going to let you get on. I'm sure you got more calls to take. I noticed when you were sitting backstage, you had your phone up to your ear while we were finishing up our previous interview. I'm like, oh, he's going to be on the phone when I go to him. But tell us what you got coming up with SICW here in the next month or so. And
yeah, we're booked. September 9th, we're back at Belclair Fairgrounds for the big boot camp match. Tilla Khan and Gary Jackson, be a full card there. Then the next day, the 10th, we always do the TV tapings the following day. But September 23rd, we're in Sandoval, Illinois, a fundraiser for the Sandoval High School. Another one of our referees is a counselor at Sandoval High School, and this will be our second year back there helping them raise some funds for their athletic department. The following weekend, we're in Cahokia Heights at the Holy Family Church, raising some money for them. Then we go to Fairmont City for the police department and fire department's annual fundraiser there. In October, we're at the Missouri Athletic Club for that private show, and also at the Coruscant Room at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. So we're busy. We're going to be going to Perryville, Missouri in November for a show there. I haven't been in Perryville in, gosh knows, many, many, many years, but they want SICW to come back. So we're going to be there. So it's staying busy, and that's why I said that little red line's getting down to the E. You know?
Well, we're still glad you got gas in the tank, sir.
So,
well, I appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, I appreciate all the job you guys do. You know, everybody out there wants to have a podcast now, and everybody's trying to do the best they can. You know, Big Texan and Bobby D does theirs every week, and they're doing a great job at that. Trying to keep everybody informed, and I think you know, what I like about them, they pay more attention on the local scene than they do on the national scene, because you know, you can turn on TV every day and see what's going on the national wrestling scene, but our boys are out there taking all the bumps on a little one. What you guys are trying to do and what they're trying to do helps give them some notoriety.
Yeah. So, well, Herb said, Mr. Simmons, it was a great. I want to thank you for coming out and joining us again. We know you've been on here before, and I know you're going to be back on here, because you always seem to, whenever we ask you, you're always willing to come on and talk about SICW and CAC and Trago. We'll probably have you on before Trago Stes, since you're going to be a part of that too. So,
anytime I can help, you know, Renee and Luke and you guys are all part of this business, and whatever I can do to help you. And Justin and I've been doing some late night
Talking
back and forth. I'm still waiting to see out that other project we were talking about. I'm
a night owl, so I'm always up. I'm sorry, I don't mean to message so late, but I'm always up late at night.
That's me too, but I'm you stirred a little interest with me with what we talked about on.
Oh yeah, I'll get back in time. I thought I was waiting on your end, sir. I'll get back with you this week.
Yeah. Just I think it's something that we need to really investigate and see what happens with it, because I think there is a need for it. I really do.
Yeah, and I want to help you out and help out the business as much as we can. So
very good. Well, I appreciate you guys, and if you're gonna help, let me know. All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Herb. We will see you again. Herb Simmons, promoter SICW and member of the CAC board. Thank you very much for coming in, and we will talk to you soon. Well, Justin, we've gone long like we always do, it seems like.
It got to a point where my earbuds died, and now I'm at 5% on my phone, and I had to turn my car on finally and plug my phone up. This has been a very draining energy-wise show, not in a bad way, but because of all this technology. You know, I got an Apple Watch. The bougie's coming out in me. I got an Apple phone, AirPods, earpods, a MacBook. I got 2 tablets. I got 2 iPads. You think all this stuff would have longer than the batteries that they provide with us?
No,
Here's my rant at the end of the motherfucking night. You know, I wanted to wait to drop the F-bomb until after we got Mr. Simmons out of the way, because I wanted to have this a classy show until he left. Now I'm going to bring it down to my level. Apple, get your shit together, because I have paid thousands of dollars using your product, and you still don't have anything that can last more than a couple hours. Nothing. I don't have any, I got my watch on, airplane mode? Not airplane mode, but power saving mode, because if I don't, the watch will be dead within 24 hours. Now, it'll last 3 days now since I have it on power save mode, but I shouldn't have to do that, because I also have a Garmin watch that if I put that sumbitch on, it'll last me 2 fucking weeks. You know, Apple, get your head in the game. That's my rant. So.
All right. Well, Justin, I think that's a good place to end it. I mean, it was a good show. We had good discussions all night long. Perry came on, and it's always great to talk to Herb Simmons, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't talk too much about Payback. We got that next, but you know what? We'll be back on before that pay-per-view, so we can discuss it, because there's some major matches coming up for that pay-per-view. We got to get through All In first, then we got the pay-per-view, and then the next night after that, I don't know. I don't like it how they're having All In next weekend. So, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm usually wrong. So,
all right. Well, Justin, it was good hanging with you tonight. We will see you again, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Oh, who knows what's going to happen next week? We got to figure out host schedules for next week. So,
I think I'm on with. I thought I was on with Renee.
It's the bonus. It's that 5th week. There's that 5th week in August that we have. That's always.
God bless it.
So who knows?
We'll get it figured out.
We'll get it figured out. Who knows? Maybe you'll have all that energy. Well, maybe you'll get something free from Apple for calling them out on the.
No, they're going to probably send me a cease and desist for talking about them on this show. So.
All right, Justin, it was good seeing you again, and that's going to do it for the Wrestle Talk podcast. We will see you again next week. Thank you for hanging with us, and we'll talk to you on the flip side.
Adios.